Tonight on the Local Live. Locals will walk for safer schools this weekend. A Mamaroneck art school teacher spreads kindness in the village. We have highlights from Sunday's St. Patrick's Day parade. The Immigrant Protection Act passes. Local leaders will join our roundtable discussion. Good evening. It's Thursday, March 22nd. I'm Michael Witch. Welcome to the Local Live. Tuesday's shooting that left the shooter dead and two others injured at Great Mills High School in Maryland adds to the national pressure for greater gun control and school safety. Survivors of last month's Parkland shooting have organized a nationwide March for Our Lives this Saturday, March 24th. Locally, one such march is open to the community. It starts from Rhinebeck High School on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. We spoke to two Rhinebeck moms who are helping to organize that event.
What the march we're doing is going from the middle school and high school campus, walking over to Daniel Warren, and then walking over to Effie Bellows and finishing up at Florence Park. And by doing that, it's instilling what are we protecting, right? Having our children walk with us, having other families and other community members walk with us, that we're all trying to keep each other safe, and seeing the places we're talking about. The march is really not about politics, and it's not about gun control. It's just the issue of school safety.
We want to invite parents, students, alumni, other communities, leaders, citizens to come together for this peaceful walk on March 24th.
If you'll be attending, the organizers ask that you register on their Facebook page so they can plan for enough security. For the first time since 2006, there was a contested election for the Larchmont Village Board of Trustees, as three candidates vied for two seats. According to the Larchmont Village website, 814 voters participated. The winners were the incumbent Peter Finelli with 560 votes and challenger Sarah Bauer with 463. Incumbent Carol Miller received 402. Though all three candidates are registered Democrats, Ms. Bauer ran as a member of the newly formed Preservation Party on a platform to limit the impact of new development on neighborhoods and schools. Mayor Lorraine Walsh was reelected to a second two-year term without opposition. Mamaroneck Avenue School art teacher Kirsten Yiser wants to spread kindness in the community with a little help from hand-painted river rocks. Last week, she wrote to the Mamaroneck Village Board about the kindness rocks project.
The idea is that these rocks are left around the village and people can pick them up if what is said on the rock is something that is meaningful to them. Mm-hmm. So that's spreading the kindness, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like someone's talking about trust and peace, be happy. That's it's good advice.
They need help in collecting rocks too. They're looking for rocks. They're looking for.
The kind messages will be painted by children in Mamaroneck's elementary schools beginning in early May. For more information on the Kindness Rocks Project, visit thekindnessrocksproject.com. Mamaroneck Village residents are invited to comment on development in the industrial area and the revamp of the Village Comprehensive Plan, which was last updated in 2012. The Industrial Area Committee will hold a public workshop on Wednesday, April 4th at 7:30 p.m. in the courtroom at 169 Mount Pleasant Avenue in Mamaroneck. The goal for the industrial area is to boost the local economy, while the comprehensive plan aims to maintain village character and pay attention to environmental sustainability. Good evening and welcome to tonight's roundtable. 2 days ago, legislation in Westchester County, it's been called historic. The press release from the county executive's office says that the Immigration Protection Act was backed by law enforcement and passed by the Board of Legislatures with bipartisan votes. And we're going to talk about that piece of legislation and what it entails and who's affected by it and how it impacts you, the viewer. And as always, you can call us or email us with your questions or comments while we engage in this conversation. And I'm so happy to greet our panel tonight, and I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Gerandi.
Yes, I'm Gerandi Martinez, the Executive Director of the Community Resource Center here in Mamaroneck. Thank you for having me.
And I'm Karin Anderson-Ponzer. I'm the Director of Legal Services at Neighbors Link. Thanks for having me.
And where's Neighbors Link?
We're located throughout the county now in Mount Kisco, Ossining, and Yonkers.
Okay. And we'll have the website of that organization up so people can know where to go for more information. Thank you. And of course, Catherine Parker, you don't need an introduction. You've been here before. Welcome back. But for those who don't know.
Absolutely. I'm Catherine Parker. I am a county legislator for District 7, which we're in right now, representing Mamaroneck, Larchmont, City of Rye, and parts of New Rochelle and Harrison.
Okay, thank you all. And so let's start with the Immigration Protection Act. This is a piece of legislation signed into law now. Tell me what it is in a nutshell. Who wants to take that?
Well, I
Karin?
can start
Sure.
with just a brief overview. What the Immigrant Protection Act does is really just three things. One, it ensures that county resources are dedicated to enforcing county law, and that county resources are preserved for that purpose. It's the overall principle. But then I think of it in three parts. And one is that the county won't discriminate against individuals based on where they're from, if they seek services or need to ask a question of county officials, that they won't they won't collect data regarding a person's immigration status unless it's required by law, unless it's related to a criminal investigation, unless it's required by a warrant, or if the person gives informed consent. And the last is, to the extent that the county is sharing information regarding an individual's immigration status with the federal officials, which the county is required to do in some circumstances, that they provide the individual notice that they're doing that. So the person understands, oh, I see there'll be a communication about me. I understand what that may mean.
And I think I misspoke by calling it an Immigration Act. It's the Immigrant Protection Act.
Yeah, it's confusing, but yeah, it's
Yes.
Immigrant Protection Act.
Okay.
And I will tell you what it doesn't do.
Sure.
It doesn't make Westchester a sanctuary county.
Exactly.
And that's really an important distinction, because some people immediately, as soon as we started addressing the issues, and again, this was started because we were thinking of public safety first, but it is within the boundaries of federal law, state law, county law. Really important.
Well, the press release says some of the highlights are it does comply with federal law.
Absolutely.
Okay. And peace of mind for immigrants, does it calm people who are otherwise jittery about engaging with law enforcement?
Absolutely. I mean, this kind of legislation is certainly a first step. It does ease the mind. I think that our work and what we need to do as community advocates is educate the community on what this is and what it means to an immigrant, and just in general, because it's affecting everybody as residents. To report crimes and feel good about that and feel like it's okay to report crimes.
So the other point of the county executive in his press release is that it makes Westchester residents safer. And it allows police to do the work that they want to do or need to
Absolutely.
do.
Absolutely.
Our county law enforcement agencies were unanimous in their support. And I think that they do feel that this actually creates a better dialogue with people, because they will know that they can go to the police if they've witnessed a crime, or if they have information, or if they were themselves the victims of a crime, without fearing. So they were on board with this as well.
Can you tell me some of the guidelines? You outlined them before. Can you go into a little bit more detail? For instance, detainees must be made aware of various immigration status issues.
Right. So one thing that the Immigrant Protection Act provides is that if for individuals who are in county custody, that they will be informed that ICE may contact them, and they'll be advised that ICE may request an interview, and they have a right to decline that interview if they so choose. They do have the right to have an attorney present if they can get one. It's important for people to know, for everybody to know, that individuals do not have any constitutional right to counsel in immigration matters, nor so the county nor any other part of the government has an obligation to provide one. It's just letting people know this is going to happen. You can try and get a private attorney if you can afford one, et cetera, and that you should be advised that you don't have to talk, these basic things. And those rules regarding individuals in county custody are really the most technical aspects. I'd be happy to speak to other parts of the law as well.
Those details are important for people to understand and know, and that's why community forums or training about what this means is, that's the work that we have to do, because those details are important.
Yeah.
We have a question that's come in from a viewer. I'm going to read it off this camera. It says, does this act protect people from immigration raids?
That's a great question. And no, it does not protect people from ICE taking action that it is empowered to do so under federal law. So ICE can do what it is authorized to do, which is go to somebody's house, et cetera, to try and enforce an administrative warrant, et cetera. That's why, as Randy was saying, it's important that people know what their rights are in those situations. But I think it's very important for the viewer and everybody to understand that's precisely the point of the Immigrant Protection Act, is that ICE can do what it can do under the law. We can't stop that, and frankly, that's not the interest of the county. The county's interest, I think, is to be sure that county taxpayer dollars are used to enforce county law, because we know that that's what's going to make everybody in Westchester County safer.
We're going to take a little break now, and when we come back, I'm interested in the history. How did this Immigrant Protection Act happen? Because I remember in the Astorino administration, there was a real movement to get it, and then it didn't happen. So we'll be right back with more. Welcome back to tonight's roundtable. We're talking about the Immigrant Protection Act, and my three guests are answering questions, and your question is important too. So if you've got one, email us or call us, and we'll get it on camera, and we'll talk to our guests about it. So who can tell me a little bit about the history of this IPA?
IPA,
Yeah.
not to be confused with India Pale Ale. So last February, President Trump had enacted an executive order that was, in essence, basically putting, I think, immigrants on notice. And we in Westchester County felt that we needed to have clear guidelines for our county's law enforcement agencies so that there would be no misunderstanding. And again, hearing from Gerandi and Community Resource Center how the community themselves felt petrified of what was happening in Washington and what it was going to mean here in Westchester, we really felt like we had to take action. And my colleague, legislator Catherine Borgia, and my colleague Jim Mazzano really kind of got this going, reaching out to Karin and other advocates and stakeholders. It was a long process last year. I'll just jump to the chase and say we ended up having it pass 11 to 6, and we had 2 Republicans that voted, so it was bipartisan. Again, Jim Mazzano, who is now working in the Latimer administration, had been one of the authors, and had worked very effectively to get it to its passage. And then County Executive Astorino had vetoed it. And one of the reasons in that discussion last year, it was really interesting that the financial impact of this law became kind of, I think, a political hot potato in that in one meeting we had what's called a financial impact statement that's always, done by our budget director with any proposed bill, and it went from one where literally we're talking about signage that's going to be put up in our county facilities to allow people to know their rights, and then the next moment we get a new financial impact statement that shows that the amount that it's going to cost us is almost $13 million, because now they're claiming that this law is going to, again, not be within keeping of a federal law, 1373?
Yeah, 1373,
and
18 U.S.C.
that in fact, we'll lose every single grant that, we could possibly get from the federal government, and that's how they came to their $13 million. So he vetoed it. There was not an appetite amongst legislators. Again, it failed to have a supermajority. You need 12 votes to override a veto, and so it failed. And we decided after November's election, I think the voters spoke very clearly that they supported this idea. So it became a priority piece of legislation that, again, my colleague Catherine Borgia really was working tirelessly on bringing everybody together to listen to concerns, tighten up language. You can speak to that, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I would add is that we spent a lot of time in really productive conversations with county commissioners, working with a group of attorneys, working through the New York Immigration Coalition, as well as attorneys with Make the Road. And we had a really productive conversation, and you're right, the bill was unfortunately politicized, I think definitely regarding the cost, because the updated fiscal impact statement made clear that the risk of losing funding is absolutely minimal and should be counterbalanced against the risk of other liabilities to the county should people not feel safe reporting to the police.
Jorandi, what was your involvement in getting the movement going again? And now that George Latimer is county executive, there's a new push to get this through.
Well, we sit on the NYIC steering committee, the New York Immigration Coalition steering committee, along with our advocates, and it's really around support and collaboration and partnership because we wanted to support this this legislation, and we showed up every meeting and every time with community members, trying to get their input. What do you want to see? What will you not? What will you not put on the table? And that was our work. That was our involvement, and of course supporting our allies, because they're doing all of the work. I mean, how many hours did you spend trying to make the language make sense? And so what we needed to do is get the community voices heard.
And
I just want to ask you to hold on for a second.
Sure,
we have another viewer has emailed a question in. Does anything in the law prevent ICE from waiting at courthouses for immigrants subject to deportation orders?
The Immigrant Protection Act says that that county resources shall not be utilized. Now, if ICE chose to wait outside in a public area, outside a building, et cetera, that could happen. We can't ultimately, and we're prohibited under federal law from limiting what they can do acting in their own capacity. But what we can do is be sure that our resources are used to protect the public. And I do think that really bears repeating that, it's called the Immigrant Protection Act. And that's a lovely name, but really for the people who are involved in drafting it, we always thought about it much more through the lens of public safety and efficient use of county resources. Because the idea is not that we want to just protect immigrants, we want to protect all county residents who will only feel safe if they know that crimes are reported, and that and everybody knows that they'll be treated equally by county officials. That's what we need. And as Catherine was saying, after the last election, it was very clear that people were terrified and that the reassurances of county officials were not enough because the noise coming out of Washington was so frightening.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, what's next? What are the next steps? I also want to ask you about the community, the immigrant community in Mamaroneck and Larchmont. If you can give us some details for people who don't know. And we'll be right back with more of our roundtable. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our roundtable tonight. We're talking about the Immigrant Protection Act, a historic piece of legislation in Westchester County. Let's start off with a question that just came in from email. The viewer wants to know, well, viewer says, many people are already in the process and are still caught in raids. What will you do in this case? I don't know if it's you do or which they do in this case.
Well,
Caught in raids?
Well, I guess we could all speak to that, especially you, Trandy. I think what we could say for Neighbors Link and Community Resource Centers that we're always working with folks.
Know your rights.
With
Training.
Know Your Rights trainings, and also taking phone calls for when we get calls from family members all the time where somebody's detained or subject in a raid scenario. But really, I think the takeaway is we're available as resources, but then definitely people should be reaching out to us in advance.
Right.
With
And
Know Your Rights materials.
Absolutely, and letting other people know that this is happening so that we can be hyper aware. And also, I mean, after 2016, we ended up having to do WhatsApp emergency, text messages. Like, you reach us if you're in danger because we need to know so that we can keep other people safe. And even just what is some of the follow-up around the Immigrant Protection Act and what should we be doing is, of course, letting our people know, letting the community know what this means, but also holding folks accountable. We did a couple of focus groups with community members, and they were like, okay, but how do you even know if the county officials are never going to ask about my status? How would you know that? And it is our jobs as advocates to really make sure that this is happening, that cultural competency training is happening, that people know that we will hold them accountable, because that's what we should do as advocates.
Catherine.
Well, I just wanted to add, and I think Gerondy certainly hit the nail on the head, the education piece of it. And, I feel that we need education sort of in many other areas, because I still hear people who really feel that somehow we've given the immigrant community something, that is, a bonus that in some effect they're getting rewarded. And, I would say that we have seen in this country, sadly, when different immigrant populations have come, that they haven't always been welcomed. And we know certainly that the Italian community, the name WAP, without papers, that they were denigrated for that. We know that the Irish, when they came, Irish need not apply, was put up in businesses. And yet our country has such a rich history of allowing people to achieve the American dream. And I really feel, and we heard tremendous amount of testimony during the time that we were working on this bill from people that have achieved the American dream, and that they are now American citizens, that they have worked so hard to attain that and have been good citizens to have in our communities. We know that is absolutely above and beyond the majority of the people that are here. They are hardworking people. They contribute to our communities. And so I feel, as a local legislator, that the education piece of it, what this is really doing, again, that this is keeping all of us safer, because our immigrant community is going to feel that they are not going to get caught up in some situation by going to the police when there's a traffic accident. And in fact, my colleague, legislator Virginia Perez, she talked about when she was here as a young child and her parents were in a traffic accident and the police came to her apartment. They were not citizens and she thought her parents were going to just be deported. And the fear, her brother and herself hiding under the bed, thinking that something terrible was going to happen. I mean, I think that this is a conversation we really have to have more and to really understand, again, what we're doing. It's all public safety here.
Well, you could certainly come back and we can deal with this subject in a whole other longer format. We have another question that just came in. What are the new rights for the undocumented immigrants in our local community? Do we have new rights?
No, there's no new rights.
Okay.
The Immigrant Protection Act does not provide any new rights to anybody. It just makes sure people understand what the law is, how it could be applied for them, and that the county uses its own resources properly to enforce local law rather than being co-opted into doing the federal government's work for them.
For people in Mamaroneck and Larchmont, is the Community Resource Center the place to go to get information about our immigrant community and the impact of the Immigrant Protection Act?
100%. We are there for anybody who wants to get information, immigrant or not. I mean, we're all immigrants. So anybody who wants to come and get information, you're welcome to. The community forums have translation in them in English and Spanish. Our Know Your Rights training. If you want to volunteer even, please come and see us because this information is crucial and it needs to get out and spread out. And, we are willing to work with and happy to work with local law enforcement across the county. That we want to build collaboration and partnership because our community deserves to be safe always.
Well, one of the aspects of this act is that it did have a lot of stakeholders who had input to it, and among the supporters quoted in this press release are commissioners of police, probation, Police Benevolent Association. They all seem to be with it, and they all cite safety and also clarity of what they can do and what they shouldn't do.
Absolutely. Right. I think this does allow, again, better communication, less fear. It's good on both ends of the equation. I think this is really positive, and again, will keep all of us safer.
Yeah, and we so thank the legislators and County Executive George Latimer for passing this. This is a big step.
Yeah.
So what's next? Education.
Community forums. Yeah.
Community forums and community education so that anybody, as Drandy was saying, anybody who wants to know more about the law and its impact on the community and their lives can find out. And also, following up on the inquiry from one viewer who asked about what to do about people who are still concerned about raids, is they should also be reaching out to organizations like Community Resource Center or Neighbors Link and others that can provide information on planning in advance to know your rights and to know what your options are. Because a quick takeaway, it's important for everybody to know, first of all, that a lot of immigrants that had fears weren't just undocumented. A quarter of the population of this county is foreign born, and of them, fully 50% are U.S. citizens. And then among the rest, there are many lawful permanent residents and other people with legal status. Only a fraction is undocumented. So all those people were afraid as well. And again, it impacts everybody.
Let me add that when I was doing my research for this interview, I looked at the website for the Neighbors Link, and I found under issues there was a section about myths and realities as far as immigrants and DACA, and I found that fascinating because they are myths that you hear so often. Sometimes they come out of Washington, sometimes they come out of local conversations about immigrants taking jobs and bringing crime to the community and getting all kinds of public assistance, and it's not true.
Right, and that's what's so important is those sorts of false narratives actually have the effect of making us all less safe. And that's why the Immigrant Protection Act is so important, by making sure that law and order in this county is upheld and people aren't kept away, and that we're made less safe by fear and misinformation.
Well, we have one last question we can ask. The message you want to send across to undocumented immigrants. Randy?
You know, this community means so much to me. I grew up here. I know my people, and I just want to say that they are safe here because of the advocates, because we're here together, because our work is so important. We've been doing this for 20 years. This year, we celebrate our services and our programs, and we are not going to stop. So come join us, like be with us, because we will protect you. And I mean that from my heart.
Thank you. Karen?
And I would repeat and support exactly what Sharandi was saying, and add to it by saying, just because a person's undocumented doesn't mean they don't have rights, and it doesn't mean they don't have power and agency. And folks who have questions, who need help, should call organizations like ours, because the other statistic that everybody should know is that of the 11 or 12 million people in this country who are undocumented, the rough estimates are fully 15 to 20% of them could be residents or now, if only they talk to an attorney.
Right. And that's why legal services are so important.
Right.
And we need more funding for that.
And that's why another great myth is the idea that people can be illegal, because immigration status is it's administrative law and it's fluid. A person could have a remedy today that they didn't have a month ago. And people should avail themselves. Don't be afraid. Call. We're all here to help, and the county has made it very clear that if there's a crime that's been committed, they're going to enforce the law and prosecute that crime. But for people who are just here living their lives, they need to be empowered to be forthright members of our community and feel safe talking to the county.
And as the county representative, well, you're not representing the county tonight, but you are a legislator.
I'll save my message for Washington. I mean, we really do need federal immigration reform, and you know, the hoops that people have to jump through, the length of time, the cost, the expense. It is not an easy process from everything that I have read, and you know, we just really need to have an adult conversation about how the federal government can help with this issue.
Well, with that, we have to wrap up tonight's discussion. Thank you so much for being our guests and for all of the information that you gave our viewers tonight. We appreciate it, and you're welcome to come back and we'll do another program. In the meantime, viewers, there's more of the Local Live coming up. Stay tuned.
I'm a reporter, I'm a producer, I'm a writer.
I am a news anchor, I am a producer.
I am a news editor.
I am the technical director.
I am a reporter, I am an anchor.
I volunteer for the Local Live because I'm a proud resident of Larchmont and Mamaroneck, and I like to give back to the community.
I volunteer for the Local Live because I believe in bringing the news into your living room.
I volunteer for the Local Live because I believe in leadership, support, and success in a community.
I volunteer at the Local Live because it's a fun learning experience, and I know each week I come, I can learn something new.
I volunteer for the Local Live because I believe in community television.
As a spring intern at the Local Live, I learned new skills like video, editing, and production, and furthered my skills as a writer. The internship gave me confidence as I embarked on my journey through the world of journalism.
We are the Local Live.
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 It was a great day for a parade, and now here's Sebastian Hall with a recap from Sunday's 7th Annual Sound Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade.
It was an exciting Sunday on Mamaroneck Avenue as musicians, firemen, dancers, and local residents gathered to celebrate Irish heritage at the St. Patrick's Parade. The marchers embraced the cold temperatures as the crowd cheered and enjoyed the event. We spoke with residents as well as members of the parade.
Your first time coming to the parade?
No, we've been coming for years, ever since it started. It's a wonderful family tradition. I bring my mother, my sister, the children, my husband. It's a great family day for us.
Can you explain to us about the dance that you guys are performing today?
Sure. This is a special routine we do for the Mamaroneck Parade. It's to the music from Lord of the Dance, and we brought some of our top dancers. Some of them are world champions, national champions, and even some little beginners with us today.
This from Mamaroneck?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you girls having a good time?
Yeah, we are. It's so fun.
You come every year?
Yes, we do.
Good. What's your favorite part?
The fire trucks.
The LMC TV crew was honored to also be part of the parade.
Favorite part is having everybody here, all of our volunteers, producers, board members, staff. It's just a wonderful turnout, and the parade committee does a great job. So it's a great day for the village and a great day for LMC TV.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
And we even got a few words from the Grand Marshal, Raymond Doug Kiernan.
I feel great. This is a tremendous honor to be the Grand Marshal of the parade. It took a lot of planning on the committees, and I tell you, it's a great day. There's a good crowd. The weather's fine. It's just perfect, and I'm greatly honored to have been chosen.
Overall, the 7th annual Sound Shore St. Patrick's Parade was a success, and we hope to celebrate Irish pride again next year. For the Local Live, I'm Sebastian Hall.
If you'd like to relive that parade, it'll be on LMC TV. Our cameras were there capturing everything. You know, we recently moved our TV studio and some offices to the town center. And now we'd like to bring you a little bit of our journey of that move, produced by Jason Milan.
Hi, I'm Matt Sullivan, Chief Operating Officer of LMC TV. We'd like to invite you to join us on our new journey of the new LMC TV. So this is our studio space, which will be completely redone. We have so far knocked down all the walls in here, and we have raised the ceiling, raised the sprinkler heads. We've installed curtain track around the perimeter so that we'll have two options. One option will be a stage without the curtain, utilizing the windows here and the natural light. The other being our black curtain, and also a green screen curtain as well. So if people want to do green screen digital technology, they can use that and create any background that they wish. Another goal that we have at LMC TV is really to open up our doors and become more of a media center. In the past, we've served as a studio location and also as a place for people to bring in their media that they've shot either on our premises or off and have it aired on the Optimum and Verizon channels. Now what we're hoping to do really is open up those doors and offer classes, be a place for screenings, really focus on that media center element so that we are encompassing many different forms of media.
What I'm most excited about really is the space that we have to be able to bring the community in and offer classes as a media center. So a broad spectrum of classes, from photography to maybe stop motion, editing, news, citizen journalism type of things.
It is really great that we can use this space to create citizen journalism. We just want to empower our community to really decide what is in our news agenda.
We have a lot of equipment available for the public to use, and it's not just for our channel. We rent it out for film shoots. One of the things I tell college students whenever I'm trying to recruit, or even my interns, is, well, your internship is over, but you can continue volunteering. And the benefit of volunteering is you're keeping your skills fresh.
Well, volunteers are really our base. You know, it's what we rely on. We do a lot of work in the community. We have a lot of studio shoots that we have in-house. And without those volunteers, the people behind the cameras, the people behind our switcher who are in the control room, the directors, the actors, the hosts, our news team, everybody's coming in and pitching in what they want. Whether they're giving us their talent, their time, or anything in between, we rely on those volunteers. We need them, and we are an open place for people to come in freely and express themselves, and really just to, challenge themselves and ask, well, should I do this? Of course you should do this. Can I push the limit? Yeah, I can push the limit. So, this is a good breeding ground for creativity, and we're very open to that.
Working all together is a great boon for LMC TV because staff can interrelate, can help each other. If somebody has a shoot and they need an extra hand, they can just go next door and say, hey, help us out. It builds comradeship, teamwork, and it's just really great for staff. And what's good for staff also is good for the community. People will know where to find us now.
I can't count how many times people have showed up at our offices in Town Center looking for the studio, or vice versa at times. So definitely it's going to lead to less confusion on the part of the community, A, and then B, just the facilities here are better than what we've had before.
One of the other advantages of being in this building is parking. So most of our shows are in the afternoon or when people in the building have left, so there's parking and you don't have to worry about running out and feeding the meter. You can just park the car, come into the studio, do your show, and go back out. So that's an advantage.
Hopefully, get more people involved from the community, and hopefully we can also do something to give back.
It's very important to thank everyone who's been a part of this process, from our staff to our volunteers to our board to the town of Mamaroneck and everyone in between. This has been a very big project for us, but a great project, and we're really looking forward to opening our doors and sharing this with the community.
And of course, you're invited to our ribbon-cutting ceremony this coming April 20th, 6 p.m. at Mamaroneck Town Center. We're in Suite 302. Brownie, a shy but lovable 2-year-old cat, he has beautiful long black hair and engaging eyes. He'd love a home where he and his doppelganger stuffed animal can hang out quietly with one another. Thor is an energetic boxer mix. He's just under 1 year old and has the energy of a puppy and the speed of lightning, probably why he's named Thor. He'd make a great activity partner for those who enjoy hiking, running, or any outdoor exercise. How can you say no to those unique eyes staring at you? Bring Thor home today. Remember, we're always looking for new volunteers and interns to help us produce this newscast. And we love hearing from our viewers. You can email your comments and inquiries to thelocallive@lmctv.org. Our entire production team thanks you for watching. I'm Mike Witch. See you next week. Good night.